only swagman camped by a billabong under the shade of a coolabah tree. And he sang as he watched and waited till his billy boiled. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. And he sang as he watched and waited till his billy boiled. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Down came a jumbuck to drink at the billabong. Up jumped the swagman and grabbed him with glee. And he sang as he stole that jumbuck in his tucker bag. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. And he sang as he stole that jumbuck in his tucker bag. You'll come a waltzing Matilda.
One of the things that people don't remember very well, that when, for the Americans, the war began in 1941.
Right.
To the English and the Australians and New Zealanders began in 1939.
Yeah.
And finally, and of course, Churchill was a conservative, our Prime Minister was a Labour, and finally it got to the point publicly where the Prime Minister of Australia said, look, you either send those men back the same way, you got them over, and if not, we're going to send our ships to the head of the Red Sea. The commanding general is going to be ordered to march over to the head of the Red Sea. They're coming back. Now, of course, in the meantime, Singapore had fallen, and from there on in, then we started to get our Australian troops back. They gave them a couple of weeks leave, and then we were put to shuttling between Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane, Moresby and back, Moresby and back, Moresby and back. The one reason I was, quote, invalided out, I had cheated on my medical.
I remember you mentioned that. Yeah.
Well, they said we'll be happy
to begin with, right?
Right.
Did they know? And this is when you were 16?
I was 16 and I was out by the time I was 18.
Right, I remember.
Yeah.
42.
You were a cadet midshipman in the academy,
Okay.
the Royal Australian Naval College. And when you came out, but you went to sea as a midshipman, and then you sub-lieutenant, lieutenant, and then the same thing. But you know, you have to do the whole thing.
Right.
You've got to do watchkeeping, you've got to learn how to take noon sights and so on, and how to calculate out where we are.
Yeah.
And you had to learn from how the officer responsible for the chronometers were, you know, made sure the chronometers were checked every time he was in Sydney or someplace where you could take them to an observatory and get them calibrated against Greenwich.
What was life like on the two ships that you were on? Did you have like water rationing? Were you pretty much 12 on, 12 off, or
no?
12
You
on,
standard
6 on?
watchkeeping, and the morning watch was 4 to 8,
4 to 8,
forenoon 8 to 12, afternoon watch, and then some ships, what we call split the dogs, 4 to 6, then 6 to 8, and that way you're sort of always moving through. You're not always
stuck with one same
12
watch.
to 4,
Yeah.
which is a Boston watch.
Yeah.
And but you know, I served on a where they split the dog, but that was really the captain's choice or the commander's choice.
Right.
Do you want to do it that way? And but you know, again, Tim, we had the deck crew were folks from Singapore, Malaya, and which.
Oh, these were native Malays, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, some, I would say some mixed.
Okay.
We would have a Filipino for the and Chinese in the mess gang. The black gang were Mohammedan Indians from quote, British India, and you know the Stokers, as I said, were Indians. Every 2 hours, the mid that was on watch would have to take one of the quartermasters or so, and you'd have to go and make a tour of the ship, make damn sure no lights were showing, and so on and so forth. It was always humbling to me. You'd go into the black gangs, the guys would have come off watch, always washed. They'd have a sort of just a
sarong
kind of thing. They'd be reading there out of the Quran and then going to sleep. You know, I had myself in my own chair, grabbing a Bible when I came off watch at 4 in the morning or midnight was not the main thought when I get horizontal. And but it was.
What were your birthing like? Did you live in a stateroom, or did you just live in an open compartment? Or
to a cabin.
To a cabin. Okay.
And, but it was, and we always had, you know, plenty of water. Although all of the bathtubs were salt water.
I see.
And
okay. So you washed
had
it
special soap that you could work up a lather with the salt. It was not, certainly not a hardship. I mean, yeah.
Were you on the Merca also, or just the...
Yeah, I was on the Merca.
Okay, as well as the...
Montoro. I was transferred from the Montoro across the Merca.
Okay. About when was that? What?
It was late 42.
Late 42, okay.
And it was interesting because my brother was a midshipman on, one of my brothers, midshipman on the HMAS Australia, and they convoyed him as far as just inside Gibraltar. And
that's a long way.
Long way. And they refueled in Perth, and they refueled in Simonstown, they refueled at the Gibraltar.
On the Montoro and the Merca, were those HMAS?
The first one was what they called an RMS, a Royal Mail Steamer.
Oh, okay.
And then same thing for Merca, and then after a while, I think the Navy and the Australian Navy had the say on that. Was that they would prefer to have it as HMAS. If you look up Morrison's book, The Naval History of World War II, you'll find HMAS Merca listed in there as HMAS Merca.
But when you served on them, they were
RMS. Yeah.
Okay.
One of the beauties about those waters down there, if you were going to Moresby, you had 2 ways to do it. At Brisbane, you had to veer out a little bit. You go straight up the Coral Street right into Moresby or the other parts of Guinea. Or if you wanted to do it the safe way, you went up inside the reef.
Okay.
Submarines can't operate inside the reef. Yeah. But there's a couple of places where at low tide, you'd have a draft of about 44, 45 feet. And then you come up to Thursday Island at the very top, and we would go out to a place called Bramble Cay, C-A-Y.
Let's see, I just want to get it oriented here. Here's Port Moresby.
Okay.
So
we're right up in here.
Okay.
And then about 5 o'clock, we'd ship anchor and go hell-bent for election straight across to Moresby.
Okay.
Because then, once we got to Moresby, we were under air cover. I would say the first voyage, we were loaded up on the Montoro, the troop ship. We had it, and we had a whole bunch of arms on the deck as deck cargo. But on this particular trip, we were sent to Darwin, and we went up, and And then we hove to at Thursday Island, and then in dark started going across the top of Australia. And
What was the mission of your ships at that time for the shuttling? You were bringing Australian troops back from Moresby to Australia?
No, taking them up to Moresby.
Oh, okay, I see.
And I tell you, it looked like something out of this world. I mean, when you saw that ship going, it was about 5,000 or 6,000 tons, big cargo ship, you know, forecastle, big holds, mast and derricks and whatnot, big hold, bridge, small hold, and you know, the middle structure, two more at the end.
This is Montoro?
We had, this was Montoro and Hooker. And we had Ehrlichen guns. They were Scandinavian, damn good.
Yeah.
And then they had Bofors, B-O-F-O-R-S, I think it was. And they were sort of mounted wheels, and you knock the wheels down and so on. So we had those carried as deck cargo, and we had these Ehrlichens everywhere, and 4.7, 4.9 on the, and 5.9 on the stern, and but it was back and forth, back and forth. My brother was he was a mid in the HMAS Rudder. We got in because you stayed together going up through the reef, and then they made their run across, and we got there, and we made ours the next night. We pulled in, went alongside, and a rudder was signaling up her lines, getting ready to leave to go down to Milne Bay with the Anshun. They went. She came back 4 days later, but the Anshun was just a hulk alongside the wharf in Milne Bay. So I was shuttling back and forth there, and then later on with when the American fleet came in, so we were the supply train we had the USS Victoria, which an American big fleet tanker. One of the things that the USN had going for it was that between just north of Brisbane up to the top of Cape York, there are two places where you can get through the reef and get out into the Coral Sea. And they would come in there, the fleet would come in there, and you know, with 2 or 3 days refuel the whole works.
Okay.
But the tankers, the tanker would go. They didn't. The ammunition ship did not go near any ship. It moved on a sort of. They carried their own barges. And they, you know, the shells, anti-aircraft shells, and all that.
When you say they carried their own barges, what do you mean by that? That shipping company is still running. The AP Motor company was Danish, but the Myers family were one of the families that are in control of it. But the ammunition was brought across, and I think on major restockings they would go down to Brisbane, and there are a couple of ammunition wharves there that they would do, you know, the big lift. Yeah.
And
well, Phil, thank you. I appreciate all your time.
I would say for someone who still treasures his dual citizenship of both Australian and American, I think the privilege of working with the American fleet, it was good. I think just as I get older, I don't think I'm becoming crusty, but I think the America I knew then is different from America I know today.
Once the jolly swagman camped by a billabong under the shade of a coolabah tree, and he sang as he watched billabong. Up jumped the swagman and grabbed him with glee. And he sang as he stole that jump back in his tucker bag. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. And he sang as he stole